What's good with you fellas? T-Rey the Collector back here with another video. Gonna be doing something a little different today versus my normal haul videos. I figured, it's getting close to being 2025, and with a new year comes new collectibles, new action figures, and I just wanted to get on here, kind of maybe will some stuff into existence, put it out in the universe, and give you guys my 2025 action figure wish list and talk about some stuff that I hope gets released in the year 2025. Now, I'm going to be honest, a lot of this is long shot and probably in no way, shape, or form will happen. But like I said, just putting some stuff out in the universe and hoping something sticks there, and maybe we'll get lucky and see a couple of these come to life. I don't know. It's mainly some stuff I've wanted since I started collecting a few years ago, and we just haven't got yet. So I decided, I'll get on here, talk about it with you guys, and maybe you guys are in the market for some of this stuff too. And you can definitely let me know down in the comments below what you think about this list. What would you add to the list? What do you want to see come out in 25? Definitely let me know down in the comments, and I'm going to go ahead and get into my action figure wish list for 2025. So I kind of broke this up into different companies. There's mainly 3 companies I have down here. Technically 2, and then like a miscellaneous line that I don't really care who makes. I just want to see it get made. I'm going to start off with the Super 7 Ultimates that I have written down here. And I have Super 7 Ultimates King of the Hill, which I would really love to see get made. I feel like you could do a lot with that. And if Super 7 kind of learns from the failures of the Simpsons line and gives us a really good King of the Hill line, I feel like that would be really awesome, especially with the reboot coming out in 2025. I feel like the market for it would be pretty good. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a really big King of the Hill fan, and I'm the only one that would buy it, but I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of people would honestly pick up some King of the Hill stuff, especially if it's a lot unlike the Simpsons line. I feel like learning from their mistakes from that, they could, push out a lot of the main characters from King of the Hill, and you could easily have like 5 different waves of 4 figures a wave and get a pretty solid lineup of King of the Hill characters. I mean, you got Hank, Bobby, Dale, Bill, Boomhauer, John Redcorn, Nancy, Con, Min, Connie, Joseph, Buck Strickland even. There's just a lot of characters you could do there without doing like they did with the Simpsons wave, where it's like these, just alternate attires of the same character and never giving it to us in their original OG look. I feel like that line could be pretty successful. I don't know. Definitely let me know down in the comments if you're interested in a Super 7 Ultimates King of the Hill line. I definitely want it. It's probably number 1 on this list out of everything. Like, if everything I'm talking about today, if I could only make one of these things happen for sure, I think that would be the one that I would go with, just because I am a major King of the Hill fan and it's something I've wanted since I started collecting. There's really only one King of the Hill line that came out way back in the day. I remember seeing it when I was like 8 or 9, and I'm 26 now, so it's definitely been a while since we got some King of the Hill toys, and I think we're long overdue for some. And especially with the reboot coming out, I feel like we should definitely be getting some new King of the Hill stuff. It's definitely long overdue and much needed in a lot of collections. I would love to have a King of the Hill shelf sitting behind me here, and I feel like a lot of people would too. So that's definitely my number 1 most wanted as far as stuff I want to see come out in 2025. Is it going to happen? I'm definitely not going to hold my breath on it. I don't think Super 7's going to make King of the Hill figures. I hope somebody picks it up and makes us some King of the Hill figures, because I would love to see it, really no matter which company. I just did Super 7 because I feel like with the accessories you would get and how good the animated characters they do a lot of the time look, I would really love to see them take a crack at it and see what comes of that. So that's the first thing I have written down here. And then for another Super 7 Ultimates line, I have Arthur. Now this I definitely don't think will happen. Could it happen where we get like Arthur and maybe like 2 more characters like Buster and DW? Maybe, in 2025, probably not, but definitely down the line, I do think that's something we could get. When it comes to a line like that, I feel like a lot of collectors, maybe older than I am, probably wouldn't buy that because they didn't grow up on Arthur, but collectors my age and maybe even a little younger grew up on Arthur, so we would definitely love to have some Arthur representation in our collection. And I think Super 7 doing some Ultimates Arthur would be really cool. Like I said, especially if it was just a couple of characters. I don't think I would devote a whole shelf to Arthur, but I would definitely love to have like Arthur and Buster. Maybe just the main friend group like Muffy, Binky, Francine. I would love to have just those maybe represented in a small place on the shelf. I think that would look really good. Especially, like I said, with Super 7 doing animated characters. A lot of the time they do a really good job and give you quite a bit of accessories, and with Arthur there's kind of a lot of accessories you could do that I feel like would make it really cool, especially if they just kind of sold those core characters in their OG uniforms, no fancy stuff, no like Halloween costume variant or anything like that, you know, from like a Halloween special that aired once a year and nobody really buys it because it's not the OG costume. Just the classic yellow shirt and the jeans I feel like would do the best, because people are going to want just that classic Arthur, you know, kind of like I was talking about with the King of the Hill. Just give it to us in those classic styles that we already see them in every episode. Just give us that, and I think a lot of people would jump on that in a heartbeat. So that's the first two Super 7 Ultimate. And then to round that off, I have two additions to a line that's already announced for 2025. These I feel like were long overdue. The 2003 TMNT we're getting from Super 7 next year. I would like to see them add a Casey and an April. I believe that Shredder and a Foot Soldier have been announced. They kind of showed like those silhouettes on their social media, so I definitely think we're getting Shredder and a Foot Soldier, but I want to see Casey and April too, so I added them to my wish list. I feel like out of everything that I have listed here today, those are going to be the most probable that we do see come to fruition. I would almost guarantee we get those. In 2025, I don't know, but definitely in the next couple of years. I would say definitely by like mid-2026, late 2026, we should be getting those for sure. I don't think there's any way they do just the four turtles and Shredder and Foot Soldier and leave it at that. I feel like there's just too much money left on the table, especially with Casey Jones. I feel like that's a really iconic version of Casey Jones to a lot of people, myself included. I grew up on the 2003 TMNT, so getting that Casey, my Casey from when I was a kid, is a must, especially with those turtles already. It's just leaving money on the table not to do it, because if people have already bought all four turtles, they're going to buy Shredder, they're going to buy the Foot Soldier, they're going to buy Casey, and they're going to buy April. It's just how turtle collectors are. Take it from a turtle collector. I buy way too much turtle stuff, and I don't plan on slowing down. So I definitely want to get Casey and April to go with those turtles that have been announced for next year. So yeah, that's the end of my Super 7 stuff. And now we're going to move on to NECA, which I have quite a bit of stuff written down for. And this is all just kind of shot in the dark stuff, just kind of stuff I'm a fan of that I feel like doesn't have a lot of representation out there. And if it does, it's a really expensive figure to buy. So it'd be nice to kind of get something new and something at retail for a lot of collectors. So what I have written down for NECA first is Snake Plissken. Now I know there's that real toy NECA Snake Plissken that comes in kind of that all plastic pack with the card back. Hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about. But I want to see Snake Plissken kind of like they did Kurt Russell's character from The Thing, where it's the fold style box. I definitely want to see something like that, where it's like that non-cloth good, all plastic, NECA style, you know, with the fold style box. I really want to see a Snake Plissken like that, preferably from Escape from New York, just because I want that box art from Escape from New York. If they did it from Escape from LA, cool, but I would definitely prefer to see Escape from New York. So hopefully we get a Snake Plissken in the year 2025. Crossing my fingers. I'm not sure how likely it is. It's really just something I want to see, so wrote that down. And then I have Napoleon Dynamite. Now it's kind of crazy that there's not a lot of Napoleon Dynamite representation in figure form. That's one of those cult classic movies that you would think has a little bit more merchandise behind it. And I know they sell a ton of like Vote for Pedro shirts and stuff like that. And there's like the McFarlane statue and those terrible Best Action figures. But I want a good Napoleon Dynamite from NECA, kind of like I was talking about with the Snake Plissken, where it's that fold open style box. And it's something you see on the shelves at Target. I just think that would be really cool. It's something I'm surprised hasn't happened yet, especially with, like I said, the popularity of that movie. I feel like a lot of people would get that for other people as a gift. Probably a lot of money to be made right there, money left on the table. So hopefully we get a good Napoleon Dynamite, even if NECA doesn't make it. Just something besides that terrible best action. Something besides a statue. I'd like to have something with articulation. I do like the McFarlane statues, and if something doesn't get announced soon, I'll probably buy one of those for my shelves just to have Napoleon Dynamite represented, because I'm definitely not going to buy that terrible best action to have Napoleon Dynamite represented on my movie shelf. So yeah, hopefully that is something we get in the future. And then I have Jean-Claude Van Damme up next on my NECA list. Now, there is that Diamond Select figure coming out. I do have that on pre-order. I do think it's a pretty good representation of Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's got him in that classic Bloodsport style attire, so I'm pretty happy about that, and I'm excited to get mine in, but I do want to see like a really detailed version, like NECA taking a crack at it. I feel like they could do a really good job and give us some really cool accessories, some cool alternate head scans, just stuff like that. I do want to see a Bloodsport Jean-Claude Van Damme come out the NECA pipeline, so I wrote him down there. And then I have Dredd from the 2012 movie. I really want that. I don't know how, but there is like almost no Dredd action figures out there. I've seen I want to say, is it Mezco or Hot Toys? I know those are two completely different things. I just can't remember the company off the top of my head. Made the Lady Dredd from that movie. But it doesn't seem like there's an actual Dredd from that movie out, especially at a price point that is reasonable at this point, because I feel like if you do find one, if it exists, I'm not sure it does, let me know in the comments below, but if it does exist, I'm sure the price point is crazy, like $500 or more. I'd like to see NECA take a crack at it and give us a good Dredd for that $35 to $40 price range. And I feel like that would be really popular. That movie's kind of become really popular over the last couple years. People are finding out how good it is. And I mean, we had the Steelbook come out a couple years ago, so it's time. It's time to get some Dredd stuff. And I feel like 2025 is long overdue, but it is better late than never. So hopefully we get some Dredd stuff announced in 2025. Maybe even a sequel movie. I know I'm not the only one that wants to see that. I love that movie, and I would love to see it get a sequel made, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about action figures. So NECA, if you're listening, please give us a Dredd figure. I know a lot of people would really enjoy that, so hopefully that's something they do. Then in the last part of my NECA stuff I have written down here, I have the Warriors. Now there is Mezco versions of these. There's a 4-pack that exists that has Swan, the Furies, the baseball players, and the name's drawing a blank on me right now. But one of the other Warriors is Ajax. Ajax is in there. That's the fourth Warrior or the fourth figure in that set. That is by Mezco Toys, and it runs about $350 on eBay, which isn't terrible for 4 Mezco figures. But I would definitely like to see just some new Warrior stuff. I feel like that movie is a cult classic and would do really well for NECA. I do think there is the real toys, like I was talking about with that Snake Plissken NECA. Hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about with that. Like that new Freddy Krueger that just came out from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, like that style of NECA with like the all cloth goods, and the kind of bigger head. Fairly positive that exists. But I want to see like I was talking about with the Snake Plissken earlier, the fold open style boxes, the interchangeable head, interchangeable hand, stuff like that. Give us some bloody nosed Warriors. Just give us some good Warriors stuff, and I feel like people would jump on that. It's another one of those like Napoleon Dynamite where it's a cult classic, and collectors and even people that just really like the movie I feel like would buy those. So hopefully that's something we see in the future. If not, I'll probably be buying the Mezco figures later down the line. Though I'd like to hold off just because they are super expensive, but Mezco is really awesome, so I wouldn't mind getting those and then having the NECA ones as well. I do love the Warriors, so I would not complain about having more Warriors in my collection. So that's all the NECA stuff I have written down. I have one more thing written down here, and this is just kind of a miscellaneous, like I don't care who makes it. I do have a company written down for it, but as long as it gets made, because I feel like I could see a lot of people doing this, and being successful with it. And that is a Nickelodeon line, like a Nicktoons line, which I just recently found out existed for a brief time. And like, I want to say the year I saw was like release date of 2019 when I was looking for a Danny Phantom figure. But they don't seem to exist on the secondary market, like that Danny Phantom figure anyway that I was looking for. It doesn't seem to exist on the secondary market, so kind of a short-lived line there. I'm not sure when the start date and when the end date was of that. It's just something I kind of didn't know existed and was surprised to see, and then went searching for and couldn't really find a whole lot on. I was able to find like Tommy and Chucky and of course like SpongeBob from the line, and even they were like $45, so kind of a surprising thing to see there because I didn't know it existed, and I was collecting figures around the time, and this is a line I've kind of wanted for a while. But I feel like with a line like this, there's so many things you could do to make it a success, and it's honestly leaving a lot of money on the table. Of course, we've got a ton of SpongeBob releases. We've even had like a ton of Hey Arnold releases in the last couple years. But I feel like with the discography that Nicktoon has, you could give us stuff like the Crimson Chin, Man Ray, young and old Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, Danny Phantom, My Life as a Teenage Robot. Like, there's just so much stuff you can do that I feel like doesn't get a lot of representation that would make a lot of money. Especially those like I was saying, the Man Ray and the Crimson Chin. People would eat those up. I know I would buy every single one of those, and I know a lot of other people would too, just because it's stuff we grew up with and stuff that has little to no representation at all. Like, I don't know where you can buy a Man Ray figure without custom making it yourself. So if anybody from like Jakks Pacific or Mattel or any of those lines are listening, yeah, that's an idea. That's a $1 million idea, honestly. I'm not sure about that, but I personally feel as though that's one of those ideas that needs to be taken into consideration when thinking about toys to make. Those I feel like would sell really well. Give us some 6-inch scale Man Ray, Mermaid Man, Barnacle Boy, Crimson Chin, and we'll be some happy campers around here. Especially those of us that grew up watching that. That would be a huge part of our collection, I feel like. I feel like you'd even rope in some new collectors with that. People that don't normally collect, seeing a Man Ray on the shelf, seeing Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy on the shelf. Come on, forget about it. I'm buying every single one of those and probably spending a whole paycheck on that line. So yeah, that's what I have, guys. That's everything I wrote down as far as what I want to see come out in 2025. Like I said, is any of it realistic? Probably not, beyond the Casey in April, though I don't expect them in 2025. I think that'll be more towards 2026, especially with Shredder and the Foot Soldier coming out. I think that's just going to be later down the line for Super 7 with all they have going on right now. But be sure to let me know down in the comments below what your guys' figure wish list for 2025 looks like. Would you buy any of the stuff I talked about today? Maybe we can will this into existence together and get some of this stuff dropped if you guys liked any of it. Be sure to comment down below and let me know what you guys want to see come out in 2025 and what you thought of my figure wish list. And if you've made it this far, do be sure to hit that like button. Do be sure to subscribe and stick around. I post haul videos constantly, so you can always see what I'm picking up and what I'm buying. And I would love to talk to you guys about what you're picking up and what you're buying. So be sure to like, comment, and hit that notification button so you know when I do post. And that's pretty much going to do it, guys. I'm done rambling. You've been phenomenal. I've been T-Rey, and I will see you in the next one.